All right, guys, never mind the mess. I get it. But what I did was I decided to do something a little different on my door panels. And in the previous videos, you saw a little bit. I gave you a little taste of it. Today, I'm going to give you a step-by-step on everything that I've figured out from the hardest to the simplest way to do this. Door panels for my 59, okay? This was my first one that I showed you in the beginning. Really lightweight. It's got the magnets in it. You can see the magnets. I took PVC and because the resin won't really stick to the Neo whatever magnets. So I needed a way to keep it from pulling out. So what I came up with was I did another one, and it's on there. Ooh, wow. These are much bigger magnets. Wow. And they're hard. Washer. Magnet on the back side, washer on this side. Put a layer of resin between them, fiberglass, and then pop rivet. And then you just sand down the rivet on the back side. Great idea. Doesn't, I don't know if you can tell, gives a little bit of height, but I know foam is going on top of this. Okay. Now over here, I did a sample. I've done a lot of research on what can go over foam. That'll give it a hard shell. And this is actually called aqua resin. I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed. Now, this is the hardener, and then you get the powder. And the directions will tell you. You can look on YouTube. The directions will tell you how to mix it. And then they also have their, what they call veil, and their hardener. Their veil is very thin. You know, if you've ever done resin or fiberglass resin, you want to smooth out your project, this is a very thin layer. The other one is a much thicker mat. It allows the thickness of the paste to go through and really harden it up. It's not tight like this cloth, or it's not as compact as this real heavy, thick fiberglass mat that I'm using on my door panels to give you strength. A little bit of rigidity too. And then that actually is 2 layers of the mat versus 1 layer of the mat, 1 layer of the cloth. Much more rigid because it's a lot thicker than this. Okay, back to this. What I did was I wanted to do a test. The test was I took a piece of the cloth and I put fiberglass down, the mat, with my sunflash resin. I put it on this piece of cardboard. Let this dry in the sun for like 5 minutes. Then I took a piece of foam and I put the aqua resin on the fiberglass mat down here. Just the resin, just this stuff. Put this into it, like kind of like gluing it together. And then I coated this part with this resin, put their mat into it, and then I put a piece of veil on top of it, which smoothed it out quite a bit. Now, after this dries, you sand it out a little bit. You could go back with some more of this to smooth it out. Now, this is 220 sandpaper just over it a little bit, just to knock down any surface. It is really smooth, and it is really friggin' strong. It's not real thick at all, but the strength, the lightness, and being able to put it over top of the mold of the foam, which, you know, you can see it's foam. It's foam. Very strong for a door panel. Now you can do what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put some of Eastwood's contour primer to build up and spray on top of this, and then block it out, sand it out, get it really, really smooth to fill in all these little pits. I'm not going to use Bondo that you just slather on and then sand the majority of it off. But that's what we're going to do today, and then I'm going to give you step by step on how I laminate this, what I use to put on top of it, because I've changed it from the blue tape and the aluminum foil to the aluminum tape. Where did it go? Well, I have the aluminum tape here somewhere. So that's going to be this panel, and I'm going to do step by step today and show you how I did it. Hope you enjoy. Okay, guys. I've gone ahead and used this silver tape, the silver aluminum tape. You can get this at Home Depot. Just so you know, they have them this wide, but they're like expensive in the blue tape and in the silver tape. So I bought two this wide for less than the large silver aluminum tape. So, and I had one roll, did one door panel, the other roll did to here, and then this roll finished off the rest of it. Then I went ahead and put some blue tape around the bottom of it here just to catch any drips so it's easier to clean up. I did my parts up here. I'm just going to run the fiberglass all the way down past this lip and make sure it snugs real tight, and then I'll take my air saw and just cut right along the middle there like I did the other one. Okay, I put a black mark with a marker for my edge, so once the fiberglass gets wet with the resin, the sun flash, it actually, which is this right here, I don't know if you saw the last video, sun flash. You get it on Amazon. It's like $90 a gallon, $93 a gallon. I'll try to put the link in the bottom. So I did this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the resin on it. Once it's wet, you can see this line so you know exactly how close you are to the edge. Then I'm going to go a little over so I can have a nice clean cut with my air saw. But I'm going to do the magnets a little different this time, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do instead of having that big buildup on the outside, which is not much, but I just want a little bit less. So we'll show you once we get to that point. Okay, guys, I just put the first layer on, and you see the black mark came through, so I can see where my edge was. And you really want it to fit tight around here, so I did small strips because to get this radius to do relief cuts and all that, but you still had to put strips in it. So I just went ahead and did some strips to reinforce this, but it's got to fit really tight along this edge. It's still wet, and it will be wet until I pull it into the sun. You can see this right here. See, it's still a little wet. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out of the sun, open up the garage door. And I want to drag it out. I'm just checking to make sure it's still sitting really flush so I can cut it and it'll snug to the top here. It'll snug to the door. So all the curves. This has only been out here a couple minutes. Not even a couple minutes, I'm in a minute. And look, it's already dry. It's drying. And once this is dry, I'll just take my air saw and go around the edge, like I said. Give me a nice straight edge after I got both coats on. And then in order to get it to lift up, I'll just take a flathead screwdriver and just start working around the edges. Now it does like to stick to the aluminum tape, but most of the aluminum tape comes right off and stays on the top. It peels off in one piece. So, you know, to come off like that. Okay, well, you know what? Let's just check it now because it's been on out here for now about a minute. Oh, yeah. It's getting dry. I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Second coat of the fiberglass resin is on. Just want to show you what I'm doing here is I'm taking my air saw and I'm going around the edges of it and cutting off. When I do this, I'm actually not just cutting straight up and down. I'm just following the black line that I have already taped on there or marked on there with the marker, and I'm cutting at a kind of a 45, I guess, so it doesn't cut into my door. And then I'm taking the sander and rounding and smoothing the edges off a little bit so it's really, really close. I do have taken into consideration that when I wrap this bottom piece with vinyl or anywhere else around here, that I don't want this to extrude down. Not that it's going to hit whenever I close the door, but you know, you just got to keep that in mind because this is two very thick layers. I just wanted strength. I'll let you see what it looks like afterwards in the next step. Okay. Like I said before, this is trial and error. This door panel turned out great. Straight as a board. First layer, I hardened it. Second layer of fiberglass, I hardened it in the sunlight. Then I went back and installed the washers so I could secure those and have the magnet stick to those and then pop rivet them, which I'm going to show you that here. Once I did this, after this first two layers were hardened, excess that I had in the cup, I used to fill those little ridges in the door panel. This door panel, on my second layer of fiberglass, the excess, because I'm doing the magnets differently on this one, the excess I put in the little valleys. When I took it off, I hardened it. I took it off. This entire section had a wave, brought it over 1.5 inches off of here. It had tension in it. It was like a spring. So I couldn't figure out what to do. So I took all the valleys and I sanded out all the excess resin that I put in there. Still had a bow. So I just cut them straight down the middle, all of them, and they lay flat. Then I took a sander and kind of smoothed out the ridges that were in here. Now what we're going to do on this, since this is flat now, it's sitting flat all the way across, I guess you can tell, we're going to re-secure it. It's not going to matter because it's in the valleys. So the spring will be gone and I will have a full panel again. So I'll let you see what that looks like afterwards. Okay, it's repaired. What I did was, after I cut each one of these, you can see the line right here. I cut them down the center where the black mark's at. So I cut them straight. What I did was I cut them, sanded all the excess out that I put in, which I should have waited. After I cut those out, I cut strips. They all laid flat, and I cut strips and put strips and resin down the center, hardened it, then flipped it over on the back, and just filled any gap that was back there on the back side with the resin as well. Now it sits flat, completely flat. Before, it was about 1.5 inches. Now we're going to drill these out. I'm going to take this, cut these out, lay the magnet in there, put a strip over it, harden it up, and then put the washer on the outside. So with all the points that I have on here, this panel is not coming off. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of effort. So next step. Okay, I'm going to give you the updated version here. All the holes are drilled for the magnets. I installed this one. And if you can see on this one, it kind of protrudes a little bit. Got a little bit of a bump here. So I may have to fix those. What I did was I drilled these holes out on the door panel, put the magnet in, and it fit flush with the resin over it. No air bubbles around it. What I'll do next is flush on bottom. What I'll do next is drill that hole out, and then that magnet grabs a hold of that washer, and I'll pop rivet it through there. So it is a lot smoother here. Not a lot of big bumpy stuff. But after the repair today, this thing turned out really good. So if you want to fill these to make it more smooth for the foam that you're going to put across here, after your second coat, let it dry. Then you can take strips of the fiberglass and put in there if you want to. I mean, this is up to new invention, new renovation. I don't know if this has been done before. I've not seen it. Yeah, I can't wait to show you the next video whenever I'm putting the foam on. But I have to put the doors back on the cab first so I can see where everything lines up. But that video will be next. Till then. Okay guys, the door panels are finished. We'll give you a little look-see here. Well, kind of hard to do with one hand. Everything looks good. Okay. You can see that on these, I did these a little differently than this side. This one I showed you in the video before that, where I actually put the magnet down. I mean, if I didn't put the magnet down, I actually did the panel, then I took it off, then I drilled a hole. Then I dropped the magnet into it, did a small piece of the fiberglass on top of it, drilled a hole through it, and put the washer on the outside. So it made it a lot more streamlined here, a little more low profile. I put 3 across here where the pool's going to be, so trust me, this is really hard right here with those 3 magnets. Here I did it just a little differently. I put the fiberglass over. Don't know, I mean, I guess it works. It's not as high. Looks good, looks okay, smooth enough. The foam on top, you're not even going to see it with the foam and design on top of it, but are very sturdy, very strong. Any questions? I mean, actually I thought this was kind of my idea, but then I also saw a video on YouTube where the guy Hammer Fab on YouTube. He did one and it was kind of partial. It wasn't a full panel, but he used the magnets as well. I haven't actually seen his finished product yet. He started those a little while back. I hadn't seen them yet. He was still building his truck. But I subscribed to him on YouTube so I could follow him to see how he does his. So with that being said, in the next video, once we get the doors mounted, then I can start doing my shape, my design, where I want to put the foam that comes from the dash and blends in. So that's going to be part of the next video. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my Raptor liner on the front of the truck and on the steps. Slight change on the interior, what we're going to do. But anybody building a truck knows that that's pretty much the way it goes. You have an idea and it changes as you go. Did a little cleaning yesterday. As you can see, the dumpsters. Got a lot more room, a lot more. My wife cleaned out our food storage, and yes, I acquired it. But more room to walk around. Cleaned up a lot of stuff, got rid of a bunch of junk. It just kind of accumulates at your feet. So after today and the video you see before me, you're going to start seeing a little more progress. Kind of wanted to get these doors out of the way and work in a business and my own business outside of this, which I do. I refinish tubs and countertops to look like stone. Refinished tubs look brand new. So if you're seeing those videos as well on this site, that you'll understand why. I know a lot of times in the past, people were shooting the tubs with automotive paint. They had a whole setup for auto paint, which I've seen it works. A little different process, but it works. This truck, all tub products. So I'm going to flip the script on this. Everything you see here, the black primer that's on here right now, that is actually my tub primer. It's what Lockheed Martin uses on all their aircraft. I have some more surprises with tub paint, which you saw in the frame. That's all my countertop stone and primer and clear coat. But I also put some stuff called Diamond Clear from, what was it, their name? KBS Coatings. They have so much stuff they're coming out with their frame stuff. Now, one thing I did do in my previous video is I polished this out. But what we're doing now is doing a hammer finish on the top of the truck. So I did a hammer finish on here, which it's the same hammer finish that I did on some other parts of the truck here. The differential, some of those stuff. Do a little 3 colors because that's what the truck is going to actually be painted, 3 colors. So we're going to do the Raptor liner here today, to here, around and down. So all this will be Raptor liner. This is going to be the hammered gray. It's going to go into the cab a little bit on the dash, so it all blends right here. Inside the door frame. When we do the door, because we're going to be cutting the door here with, not cutting, but with a line. So this will all be our midnight black, which is, it's a metallic black primer that we use. And then from the line up, it'll be the hammered gray. And then we're going to have a lime green stripe going around the cab to the front of the hood. It'll just be a stripe that comes across and stops. As of right now, but like everything else, things change. So until then, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like, questions, comments. I'm all about it. Until then, later.